Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Eddie, and it's been like a few months since I've seen this show, and I've been pushing it back and back and back, but I remember that I eventually wanted to do this review, so here I am, reviewing the show Yona of the Dawn. Once again, it's been a few months, so my memory is a little hazy, but yeah, I'll try to see what I could review so far. Yona of the Dawn is a manga that was made a long time ago. I mean, it's pretty surprising that they were actually able to... Okay, so it was made by this guy who is Japanese, and Yona's roughly based on the Three Kingdoms of Korea, so I'm actually surprised he didn't make a super racist or a super racist or super characterized version of Korea. It's surprising that he was actually able to, make just a normal story, so... That was immediately eye-catching to me. That was, pretty surprising. Whoa, hey, look, Japanese anime that's, about Korea, but, that's not racist. I mean, that's pretty groundbreaking in my honest opinion. So, obviously I just kind of had to watch the show. And I tried looking up the manga artist because I kept assuming, he had to be, ethnically Korean and moved here, right? But no. Not only have I not been able to find much information on him, everything seems to suggest that he's just Japanese, or at least, has been Japanese for some time, so I'm not quite sure what motivated him to write this, but you know what? Honestly, cool, good for you. Cool going. Honestly, it is a okay show, honestly. There are some stereotypes and cliches overall that I'm not really a huge fan of, but, I mean, I guess I put far too much expectations onto the show because it's a shoujo anime, and I don't know what I was expecting, but yeah, I feel like I was putting way too hard of an expectation on it, and at first I kind of didn't enjoy it as much because of that, because I wanted to see some, political backstabbing and all that good juicy stuff, but if you just watch the show for what it's worth, it's a pretty good show. Well, that and the fact that the second half, where I let go of my expectations, quote unquote, has a lot more fighting in it, but regardless. Yona of the Dawn, it's a very enjoyable show, but not without its faults, obviously. As I said, it is fundamentally a shoujo anime, and like all shonen/shoujo kid animes, it falls into the trap of, it doesn't, or at least this is more endemic of the first half, but it doesn't, build up it doesn't build up the character, the drama hard enough. It gets into this really serious moment, and then it's immediately cut by, this is the same problem The Last Jedi, well, one of the many problems The Last Jedi had in Star Wars. A serious moment then immediately cuts attention by telling a corny joke. As I said, I probably should go easy on the show because it's essentially made for preteen girls, but, it's possible to have drama and humor at the same time. With that being said, it doesn't always do that. Obviously, the most intense moments, for example, when Suwon kills the king, that's played pretty seriously through and through, and I'm not saying that there aren't moments that are completely, just utterly serious. There are moments that are serious that should be serious. It's just, a lot of the time, you see something something tense is about to happen, and then it ends up being funny, so I was a little disappointed by that, because you can have your funny moments, and you can have your serious moments, but just don't, mash them so hard together when they clearly don't mix. Okay, once again, Yona is not a bad show by any means. I know I criticized the plot a little back there, but, that's okay, because honestly, it's the characters that make it stand out. To me, one of the most interesting characters was probably Suwon, because just this guy, I'm the most interested in him. What are his motivations? What are his, what's his ideology? What's his purpose for doing all this? He's the most important, interesting to me, and it's quite a shame we didn't get to see him that much. It's also quite a shame he acts kind of like a funny fool for, most of the show, despite clearly being, an intelligent fellow. I know why he does that. It's all for show, but I still kind of wish that he would, act a bit more serious and act a bit more scary, because at the end of the day, he is the antagonist of the show, even if he is a good-looking bad boy, quote-unquote, that Yona has a crush on initially. So, I kind of wanted to see a more serious side to him. I guess not, but you know what? That's okay. Another person a character I really enjoyed is Yona herself. Yona is a strong female character, but she's not a Mary Sue. She struggles, she grows, she changes throughout the series. She's a good character, and definitely a much better feminist icon than any of the strong women we see on Star Wars. We see on screen these days. Seriously, Yona's character development is one of the best I've ever seen in an anime before. One of the best. Actually, Vivi might be a little better, but I haven't, I'm not really sure about that yet. That's for character analysis later, so I'll get back to that in a little bit. Before we head to further story reviewing, I'd like to point out one more thing. Ah, yes, history. I love history. So, Yona of the Dawn is based on the Three Kingdoms period of Korea, and specifically the kingdom they're from, Koka, is based on the Koguryo Empire. Now, this is what really grinds my gears, but if you know anything about the Koguryo Empire, it is the last kingdom, or last country you should portray as a bunch of, pacifist, happy hippies, okay? The last kingdom. No wonder King E ends up getting murdered, okay? That's just not how it works. I mean, I get it. It was made by a Japanese guy, so maybe he doesn't know the culture. But, come on. Koguryo's whole shtick is that they're, a militaristic culture that ends up conquering and destroying everything. I mean, once again, holy crap. No wonder King Annie's 21st century pacifism shenanigans got booted from the throne. What did you actually expect? Even the most pacifist of Korean kingdoms in the olden times, which is, I would probably say, the Joseon Kingdom, maintained an active military 24/7, and they never lacked on defense, okay? They were never pacifists. They were happy to bully and invade the Manchu tribes to the north. This just makes outside of the 21st century, this is just an ideology that makes no sense whatsoever. Even so, out of all the Korean kingdoms, Koguryo is the last kingdom you want to portray as pacifists, okay? If you know anything about these guys. Maybe Sila or Paekje. Those two, I kind of get those, because yeah, sure, they were a lot more militaristic than, say, Joseon, which is, I'm not saying Joseon didn't have a strong military, but, Sila, Paekje, a lot more militaristic than Joseon, but, still, not as they're not, famous for, being muscle-brained, gut people who just enjoy beating things up, the way Koguryo was. As I said, it's a lot more believable for Yona to be, a princess of Shilla or Paekje, and by more believable, I mean not believable at all. But still more believable. Or Gaia would be cool, because we don't really see that much of Gaia these days, even in Korean media, despite the fact that they had some of the most advanced metalworking on the peninsula. And due to their technological advantage, they were able to stay alive for quite some time. Then again, Gaia not only was Gaia hopelessly disunited, it wasn't even a kingdom, it was a confederacy. And while there was, yes, a single royal family that kind of led them all, the other tribes still had lots of autonomy. Not to mention, Kaia's whole shtick is, as I said, metalworking, armor, weaponry, that kind of stuff. They got rich off of trading weaponry and armor. So I don't know how kindly they would take to King E's shenanigans. I suspect he'd last an even shorter amount of time, because unlike the tribes, the four tribes here, the other five tribes of the Gaia Confederacy wouldn't take to a quote-unquote weak king too kindly. And I know King E isn't a weak king, but that's how everyone sees him. And trust me, when those other five kingdoms smell blood in the water, they'll go for him. Yeah, but once again, King E's ideology makes no sense whatsoever. Even Joseon, arguably the most pacifist Korean kingdom, had an active military 24/7. Modern day Korea is more militaristic than this Koka, okay? And by Korea, I mean South Korea. Yes, every South Korean gets conscripted, which is part of the reason why we have the 10th strongest military in the world. Although, to be fair, we're also the 10th strongest economy in the world, so I suppose it's not really saying much. I mean, to be fair, we do have our crazy northern neighbor up north, a dozen other regional countries that, just want to bully us, but you get what I'm saying. But all that aside. Okay, so the story itself was pretty interesting. The first half of the show, I gotta say, was a little slow, and remember, it's 26 episodes long. Not to mention, unlike, say, Death Note, the show didn't immediately, pull me in, so I did kind of watch it on and off. I did kind of get tired of it at times and just, stop watching it for a while. So the show viewing was a little slow. I actually started back in November of last year, November 2020, and didn't really finish watching until, I think, January or February of... Was it January or February? I'm not really sure. The point is, it was a little on and off. It took me a long time to watch the thing, and As a result, I can't remember everything, but I do know that the very first few episodes were arguably to me one of the most interesting. I really like the court politics, the way everything worked, the backstabbing, all that good stuff. That was really interesting. As I said, Suwon is probably the most interesting character of the lot. His motivations and actions just really intrigued me. I mean, he sees Yona like a sister. I mean, he might not see her as the love interest she wishes him to see her as, but at the end of the day, in episode 1, we see that he at least sees Yona as a little sister. So I don't know. I don't know if the cognitive dissonance is exactly the right word, but the ability to separate between King E and the daughter that he loves so much. It's just that was just super interesting to me. And the fact that he initially sends people after her to kill her, but at the end he, just lets her go. That whole dynamic was really cool. Here, Yona is a pretty bog standard shoujo protagonist. She's dairy, she's cheery. I like her. I enjoy her. You have Hawk, who is, the Chad, resident Chad here. I guess you could say he's a common archetype found in many shoujo mangas, and not just shoujo. Actually, you do get these sorts of guys in shonen, or even normal shows, or normal non quote unquote kid shows as well. He's very loyal. He's a cool fella. Overall, he's a great guy. I really do like him. And another thing I really found interesting was how the fire tribe, I think, the Fire Clan, not to be confused with the Fire Nation from Avatar, which I have a feeling influenced this in some way. The Fire Clan continuously try to stop them, and arguably these were some of the most interesting moments. They had the most character building for Yona in it, although I do admit, just Yona walking around and wandering and contemplating, those did have a lot of character building in them too. As I said, I didn't enjoy it as much because just, come on, let me see some action. But I gotta admit, it was well written. Now, just let's make one thing clear. It's not that I don't enjoy the quote-unquote the quiet moments. I really enjoyed those moments in Attack on Titan. It's just, in Yona, I'm not really sure why I didn't enjoy it as much. Maybe it's just because of personal taste. There are also some other tribes. We do see the Hawk's Wind tribe. The other two tribes haven't been that important so far, so I'm not really sure about them. But the Wind tribe, I mean, they didn't play as huge of a role in the Yona's sector of the story that much. So there's not much to really say about them. They were pretty cool though. So I did enjoy. I don't really remember their names, but you have this one guy, the one guy with the orange hair, and the one guy with the blondish hair. So basically, after the Fire Tribe chases them all the way through this massive forest, Yona has this giant character building moment where she faces down the Kang Tae-jun, I think, the leader of the fire, or not the leader, but the son of the leader of the Fire Tribe, and basically tells him to fuck off. Basically, Hawk gets hit by a poisoned arrow, and he falls, basically they are able to make it out of there, but they eventually end up just collapsing in the middle of the forest, and they're taken in by these two guys. By the way, one of which happens to be the Oracle that, says, hey Yona, there's these 4 dragons that are supposed to help you and stuff like that. They go on their way and they kind of help him out. They also meet this guy, this white-haired guy. Oh yeah, I just remember his name, Kija. Basically, by the way, I really love the dynamic between Kija and Hawk. Basically, I mean, it's a shoujo, so what do you expect? They both of them really like Yona, and they're both very I don't want to say vocal, but they show it. They're very protective of Yona, and they show it, and they basically see each other as rivals. I just thought that was really entertaining to watch. But yeah, getting Kija on their side it's not really that hard. The village, they basically all know the old stories, the old tales, and they're like, oh yeah, it's basically your fate. And Kija's like, you know what? I'm super happy to go. I really want to go. I really want to serve Yona. So, that's a pretty easy acquisition. I really like him. He's very loyal to Yona, and there's a strong sense of him wanting to serve. I can kind of relate to that, serve his purpose. So I really, really like this one. I also really like the village. They were really accepting of Yona, even though they did trap the orange-haired guy, who looks kind of like a male Sayori, by the way, just now that I think about it. So yeah, I really like this village. Then you have the Blue Dragon Village. I don't like these guys at all, honestly. I don't like these guys at all, but Honestly, the Blue Dragon, pretty chill fella. Not really that much to say about him. I feel really bad for this guy. Like the Blue Dragon Village, I really hated those guys. I enjoyed their story, but I didn't like them at all. Just the way they treated the Blue Dragon, I didn't like them at all. Also, given how unstable the whole thing was, I'm surprised the cave system didn't collapse in on itself like a longer time ago. Regardless, Al was cute, so, I mean, at least there's that. Moving on, we eventually meet the Green Dragon. And this guy doesn't really live in a village at all, like his own specialized village. He lives in a city as a bandit, and this is where the final arc of the story happens. By the way, this is around the time that we get to meet Suwon again, and this is what I found a little disappointing. I wanted him to be something, I suppose that I probably shouldn't have gone with so many preconceived notions of what a ruler should look like, but I kind of wanted him to be something like, kind of like Lelouch or like, like a big brain fellow, like, all right, we had that King E guy before, but I'm not going to be like him. This time I'm going to be a cool ruler. And instead of that, he kind of acts like a fool. I mean, which works because a steel fist in a velvet glove. He's looking like a fool, but he's doing it strategically. And I suppose, technically speaking, that is kind of nice. The only issue I have is I kind of wanted to see him be a bit more, ruthless. Kind of like we saw him killing King E, and the only reason he's letting Yona go is because no matter how ruthless you are, you're still a person, you're probably going to have emotions, okay? But, I don't know, I just wanted to see him be a bit more ruthless, or at least a bit more, like, strategic, serious and, like, compromising. So we have Yona and her team being all silly, and I guess we could have Suwon be a bit more serious, but no. He's a smiley, bubbly fellow, and I don't really have any issue with that, but he doesn't act very serious, or when he does, he doesn't really show it. And so there's this massive game between him and the Earth Tribe, which paints him in a very comedic manner, which kind of disappointed me, but I mean, once again, I suppose there's like a reason for why it's written that way. Still, I would have preferred to see Suwon be a bit more like strategic and like cold, I guess, when it comes to dealing with politics. Anyhow, this final arc revolves around Yona and the crew joining this cool pirate lady and taking down the evil Yan Kumji, basically the governor of Awa port, and just a really, really, really nasty guy all around. They have to bust a human trafficking ring, and just, here's the thing, I really love this arc. I think this was one of my favorites. We see all of Yona's character development, everything she's done so far, accumulate into this just epic story. Like, this was the highlight of the show. I love Yona's expressions, like, in these scenes, and just those eyes, that fire in Yona's eyes as Yan Kumji realizes he is screwed, that fire in her eyes, that was really, really, really badass. I loved it. Anyhow, but heading back to the start of the arc, around this time we also get Jaeha, who is a bit of a skirt chaser, let's be honest here. And we get him eventually saying, yeah, okay, you know what, Yona, I'll follow you. I'm not following you because of my genes, but I'll follow you just because I want to. So unlike Kija, who is following Yona because of his strong sense of duty, his personal desires and his instincts are very much in sync. He's not like the Blue Dragon, who just doesn't really care. He's kind of neutral. He just kind of wants to stay out of things. Jaeha wants the spotlight, but he doesn't necessarily want to be under Yona's thumb. But still, by joining Yona, he gets what he wants. He's not under her thumb. He's a partner. And Jaeha was really cool. And anyways, just everything from like the pirate ship trials, all the strategic planning, and eventually the final awesome battle against Yan Kumji. Like, the whole thing was just really amazing. I mean, we get like a bunch of fighting for like the next few episodes, and just the whole thing really amazing. I really loved it. As for the final dragon, I feel like he did kind of come out of nowhere, honestly. Like, this guy just sort of like pops out in front of us and just is there. I don't like remember exactly what his powers were, but I know that he was a pretty. He seemed like he seemed like a fellow. So there's honestly that. Actually, do we even get to see his powers? Anyways, all that aside, yeah, and apparently, eventually, they all converge and come to fight an invasion of the Kai Empire. And that, my friends, is where the story ends. Are you kidding me? This is what we saw in the prologue. This is the Korean's Haguk style war, like, and by Haguk I mean the old ones made in the 2000s about Iron Age warriors duking it out, not the more modern K-dramas. The Iron Age warriors duking it out and fighting to the death for the country, for the nation. And you're telling me that it ends there. They're about to wage a guerrilla war on the Kai Empire. And you're telling me, like, you just finish the story off there. You cap off the story there. No, nothing. That's it. And not just that, we haven't had a story, we haven't had a season 2. This anime finished in 2015, okay? This anime finished in 2015. It's been 6 years and we still haven't gotten a story on a huge cliffhanger. Like, with Cestus, I kind of understand why they do that, because it just, like, there wasn't traction. But this had traction. This was popular enough to get 3 OVAs, which I have yet to see, but I will see those eventually. Though my dad will make a video on it. You're telling me that you didn't make, like, just, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? On a huge cliffhanger. And now that 6 years have passed, it's unlikely that season 2 is even going to get made. But, like, are you actually kidding me? Come on. Warfare. We're about to get something awesome. But no, we're not going to let that happen. Disappointment aside, another thing I want to say is that the soundtrack really rocks. The music really fits in with the theme, and a lot of otherwise normal scenes are just made 100 times better thanks to a glorious soundtrack. Now, that's all there is to it, honestly. I want to say the OST was, like, oh godly. I love this OST. The same way I did with Astra Lost in Space or Vivi. The OP and ED are okay. Like, I like the first OP a lot, actually. It feels more like a Korean K-drama OP. It's got no words and dialogue. I didn't like the second OP as much, but, like, the visuals are much better, so there is that. But still, I'm really disappointed. We've had enough horsing around in Koka. I'm not saying that that's bad. It's good, but, like, I get it. It's a good starter season. It's a good way to get everyone together. Now it's time to, like, kick some foreign empire ass. But no, it ends right there. Like, just, come on. I wanted to see a fight. I mean, no second season. Where did that mysterious army come from, actually? Who's invading? How will Yona overcome them? What will Suwon's central government do about this? None of these questions are answered because there is no season 2, which is a real shame. But it is what it is. Honestly, I really enjoyed Yona of the Dawn as a story. I think it was really well made. I don't like how it was a little too slow. This might just be because it's a little bit out of my demographic, honestly. As I said, it's a shoujo, so I get that maybe, like, a young girl might not, like, you know, have a huge boner for just watching epic, huge battles all the time. And I get that. But I don't know. I feel like it could have been a little more. But complaints aside, like, I feel like I feel like I'm being a little too harsh on the show. It's a really good show. Yona has amazing character development. But overall, I think it's an enjoyable show. You guys should go see it. Maybe if enough people go see it again, maybe it'll get a second season. I don't know. But yeah, that's really all I have to say for this one, honestly. Great show. Little out of my demographic, but it's okay because it serves its purpose well. And I'm always happy to see more Korea. So, and especially in an anime. So that made me really happy. As a non-racist portrayal. Like, just a normal portrayal. Can we just have a normal story, please? And Yona is just that. It's a normal story. It's a good story. I like it. And there we have it. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, folks. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't done so already. And smash that bell. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, folks. The sky's up. And you guys are awesome. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.